In 2001, Congress passed the No Child Left Behind Act. This required states to test all students in math and reading every year from third grade through eighth grade and once in high school. Typically, students take about 112 mandated standardized tests between kindergarten and eighth grade. All of these standardized tests are putting a strain on the classroom environment through the pressure on teachers and students. Also, the importance of standardized tests is dropping. Since there has been such an increase in the amount of testing that students are required to do, their teachers have to make sure that the students are being properly prepared for those tests.
The emphasis being put on the results and preparing for these tests is killing creativity in our public schools. Teachers are forced to focus on teaching to the test for fear of their job security. Kids are being denied full access to subjects that foster creativity, socially conscious problem solving, resilience, networking, and other skills necessary to compete in a 21st century economy.
Teachers have to modify their teaching practices and devote more time to memorization practices rather than critical thinking skills. These practices are taking away creativity from the classroom setting since there is so much pressure on the teachers. Pressure does not only fall onto the teachers, the students feel it too. There comes a point in a student's testing years where it's hard to tell them that the test isn't testing you and it's testing the teacher. Many students nowadays have test anxiety.
Students with test anxiety may have trouble performing their best on a standardized test, not because they don't know the answers, but because they're feeling too nervous to share what they've learned.
Students have to take in all the stress and pressure of testing. Overall, students don't like all of these tests because they don't feel as though standardized tests actually show their promise and abilities. Standardized tests have their limits. They cannot actually test to see how successful a student will be. So why are they so important, and why is everyone always worrying about them? It's because they can still have an effect on a person's future. Researchers have found that standardized test scores have very little correlation with memory, attention, and processing speed, and that high test scores are most likely due to memorization, along with the fact that scores have nothing to do with long-term learning. Although many colleges are still using SAT and ACT scores when looking at applicants, more and more colleges and universities are going test optional. By these schools going test optional, it shows that not all colleges and universities need to see a student's test score in order to consider them for enrollment. As a result of seeing how standardized tests are affecting teachers and students in the classroom, along with how they are losing their importance, the United States should lessen the amount of standardized tests that students take every year. They do not need to fully get rid of them, but it would be useful if they could cut down the amount of standardized tests. There is a petition that can be signed at www.petitions.moveon.org. Students and teachers should not have to feel all of this pressure just for a test that isn't going to help them in the long run.